Welcome, everyone. This is the Benefit for Puerto Rico. I'm Carolyn Cole, boomtank.com, standing in for Nadine Crespo, who's actually on her own camera in Chicago interviewing others as we speak. She asked me to pinch hit, and I'm very happy to show up for this worthy cause. Thank you, Nadine, for all you do. You can reach Nadine at NadineCrespo.com. Nadine helps female entrepreneurs, online ones and some offline ones, create, grow, and scale their businesses. Please contact her. And today's guest does pretty much the same. How are you, Gab?
Hey, Carolyn, I'm great. And again, Nadine, thank you for putting all of this together.
Yeah, it's really, it's a wonderful benefit. You are New York, New York. Here she is. Sara Oblak Speicher with an MBA. I love that. As I said earlier in the pre-chat, I should ask you to sing It's Up to You, New York, New York, you know, the Frank Sinatra tune, but we won't do that today. Do you like that tune?
I love it, but I don't sing. You can ask my little ones, Mommy, please stop singing.
Mommy, please stop. We're going to get right into your piece. And your piece is you help online entrepreneurs and offline entrepreneurs with multiple six-figure businesses, some a little less, but most of them are multiple six-figure earners who have lost their life. They also have lost perspective on how to scale their business. You come in as a breath of big air and say, we're going to look at your pricing. We're going to look at the structure of your business. We're going to figure out how to structure your pricing in such a way that you get your life back, you actually scale your business, and you actually have a larger picture of where to go next. Is that a fair assessment of what you do?
It's a brilliant assessment of what I do. Thank you.
So thank you. You're the one who gave it to me. What a
Yes.
collaboration. Let's get into this. You have an MBA, and from your backstory, you told me you tried the consulting route. And as you were going through the big consulting interviews, and I did that with IBM Consulting, it's a lot. And when you're going through that process, you realize I'm my own cowgirl. I don't really want to show up for others. I want to show up for my life and my business. Do I have that right?
Exactly. You know, growing up in Europe in a small town of 10,000, I never even dreamt about ending up in New York. But once I got here, once I got my feet into the business, through business school and so on, because it just sounded fancy. You know, every single person that I saw had an MBA. I was like, ooh, that sounds awesome. I'm going to go after one. And then I was dreaming about corner offices overseeing the Central Park and walking through Central Park to work. And that actually did happen, mind you. I did walk to work through Central Park. But once the interviewing process started, because I had this idea that if you're a consultant, you have to work for those big corporations. Sitting in those offices, interviewing, I was like, I'm just not cut out for that Shark Tank, so to speak. I'm a caring person and I'm a soft-spoken person, and I was just, the energy was off. So needless to say, those bigger interviews did not work out, but I did end up working in the private sector, and I loved it because it gave me a whole different perspective of entrepreneurship. Growing up, my parents both had their own businesses, but as a busy teenager occupied with basketball, I did not have time or interest watching what they were doing and how they were doing it. But through my jobs in private sector, I was able to sit next to business owners, rubbing elbows with them, learning the ropes. And then once I ended up in a company that I wanted to work for, it didn't end up, it worked out in the end, and I ended up losing the job the same week I found out I was pregnant. So that's how I started my own.
I believe in seizing the moment. Childhood, Slovenia, parents were entrepreneurs. What was it in you that made you say, I like New York, I like this MBA, I can do this?
There were so many different things, and there's still different things coming up. But most of all, in New York in general, I loved the vibe, you know, the hustle, bustle, the meeting new people, networking, connecting people, being of service. Doing things on my own, sometimes it does get lonely in your home office, and I try to get out as much as possible. Now I have two little ones at home, and it's just additional level of motivation to show them what is possible when you set your mind to. and that there's literally no limits, especially with technology. Like you and I are talking right now, we haven't met in person before. I met Nadine once at an event through somebody that I met online. You never know how things work out. And the beautiful thing about those connections is you can empower each other, and you can start honing on to what is that you do, what are you the best at, what drives you, and create a lifestyle around it. Now, my entire family is still in Europe, so I also wanted to do something that I can just pick up my laptop and go, that I'm not bound by any pieces of equipment or huge overhead of corporations or bigger businesses. Um, it's it's really, really rewarding.
You're in the new economy. Welcome. You talk about connections.
Mhm.
You're a big networker. That's how you started your business, referrals and networking, and now you've grown. Very successful. What are the mistakes you see your clients making? What brings them to your door?
There are a couple of components to the answer to the question. So like all of us, my clients have started their own business because they had something of value to offer. Many of them, it was a circumstance, just like mine, that pushed them to start a business. They had the skill and they said, well, I'll offer that skill. Throughout that journey, they learned that they needed to market, they needed to sell, so they equipped themselves with all sorts of strategies that you can possibly think of. This program, that course, that consultant, that advisor. Um, but the thing that was starting to fall apart and wheels starting to fall off is the back end of their businesses, because they were just so focused on the front end and bringing new clients, bringing new clients, bringing new clients. So yes, on paper, their businesses might be multiple six-figure businesses. Everybody would say, oh, it's awesome. But they are up at night because they don't know if they'll make it to the soccer game the next day. Because if they're not in the office, they're not getting paid. They're up at night because they want to hire assistants. They're not even sure where to start, much less if they have the margin to bring somebody else on board. So what we do is we turn, keep using a couple of clients, for example, their $150 an hour service into $10,000 a month retainers. So they're able to work with less clients, support them better, and then we also figure out ways to offset and bring in additional streams of revenue through different sources, and to put the pillars in place, rebuild their foundation so they can continuously build on. Because you can't build a scraper on the foundation of a cottage. You got to start somewhere, but essentially you have to start rebuilding things.
That's where I was going next. The cottage is $150 an hour. The skyscraper is $10,000 clients. If they've been focusing on marketing and sales in that smaller pool that brings $150 an hour, how do you steer them to the skyscraper, to that $10,000 retainer monthly?
That's a beautiful question. A lot of times what happens is they're not aware that the brilliance that they have is a complete solution that they provide for their clients, and not just another piece of a puzzle they throw at them. So wrapping their mind around it is the first step. Building their confidence that they actually, hey, you can do this. You have 25 years of experience. You know what you're talking about. And then helping them see that when they own their value, when they offer that complete solution, and when they focus on the outcome they're creating for their clients, that is the value their clients are buying. So their clients no longer are concerned with, well, how much am I paying you? How much time are you spending here? Are you, by the way, chatting on a phone while you're working on my project? None of that matters anymore, because they know what's the result they're getting. And with that, they're able to bring in support so they can actually step into the role of a CEO and not be in the trenches of their business anymore.
We talked about that pre-chat. The biggest
Yeah.
mistake, one of them you just said, was behaving more as an employee than a CEO. How
Yeah.
does someone, aside from what you've just added, how does someone go from being an employee in their business where they have to be there all the time to being a CEO, taking on the more entrepreneurial role versus the technician role? And we saw that in the E-Myth Revisited, that landmark book. How do
Yeah.
you make the transition?
So I always tap into my own experience when I first started out. A lot of times in trade schools and in different schools, you're taught, that one skill. And when you go for a job, you're taught, well, your time is valued X, Y, Z. So this is the mindset you bring along when you start your own business. My hour is valued at X, Y, Z. I need to work X, Y, Z hours in order to, you know, justify the investment, the leap into entrepreneurship. So the first thing that we need to do is helping them see that as an entrepreneur, there's so much more that they need to do. It's not just working with their clients. They're now responsible for a lot of more things. They are juggling a lot more than just that one thing. So I don't want to use the term shortcut, but repositioning on the market has lots to do with it, because when you position yourself on the market as somebody who does this one thing, yes, you're always going to be this one thing person. But for example, a client who started off as a bookkeeper in CPA, it's like, I'm now working with clients who are nickeling and diming me for my bookkeeping services. But as we assess the work that she does, the results that she creates, and the brilliance that she has and expertise, she's more of a CFO and not the bookkeeper. So we devised the strategy, and it included, yes, the marketing, the management, the team building, the sales approach to now position her as a CFO. Yes, bookkeeping is still available, but it's not the primary thing that she markets herself as. And she saw the change immediately. And it was so rewarding when we started to make those changes. She's like, oh my gosh, I think I made a mistake. I was like, what happened? Well, I had this coffee meeting with this woman, and I just bluntly say, I can do this for you. And how do I take it back? How do I tell her that it's actually so much more that I can do? So we crafted a proposal. And so, after careful consideration, this is what we established. This is what we believe would be best support for your business. Let us know if you have any questions. And it's like, well, yeah, but the new quote is like twice as much as I mentioned that it could be. Like, well, just tell her why. And she called me back 2 hours later. Like, she said yes, she paid on the spot. So it was really rewarding, and it was just a testament of what happens when you own your value and when you have the best interest of your clients in mind.
Interesting. And the client knew that, right?
Yeah.
Client saw that and didn't want that to leave. The client saw the worth. What I picture is a car that, like a little electric car that gets stuck in a corner, boink, 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 boink. And you back the car out, you stop it, and then you point the car in an entirely different direction where there's actual roadway. And we discussed pre-chat that your people come to you, they're tired, they've hit the ceiling because they haven't hired others to help them. They can't. One person is a limited resource. We are limited resources as one person. There's only so much we can do. They reach the dilemma of hitting their ceiling stamina-wise, time-wise, financially, where they can't hire help. And by raising the prices, that gives them the influx of income to now hire people and turn their car in a different direction and reposition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I want to make sure that I say this out loud. It's not just slapping a zero onto your price points. It's the whole package, that you offer. Because just going from $10 to $10,000 service just by adding zeros, it's unethical. People are going to see right through it. But when you focus on the value that you provide, when you focus on the big picture, on the outcome that you're creating, people are going to see that. And it's almost like walking into, since we're using car analogy, it's like when you walk into Mercedes dealership and there's a brand new Mercedes and the price point is $1,000. Like, something's not right with this car. And you walk right out.
Allie Brown, the big business coach, has said this past year, she's been ringing the bell out there every time, ringing the bell. Women especially have to own their expertise.
Yeah.
That's where the value comes. That's where the pricing comes. That's what you're doing for your people. You're saying, hold on, you have this expertise. Let's reposition, repackage, so you're maximizing the exposure and the potential of it.
Yeah. And I know how scary that is because I was there. When I first started the business, I was a virtual assistant because that's what just I thought it's the only virtual thing you can do. So I remember comparing my salary and thinking, well, if I got paid XYZ, but now on my own, and can I really ask for $20 an hour to do this kind of work? I got nickel and dime left and right. Everybody wanted a discount. Everyone wanted to do something, but the Sally down the road, she only charges $19.99. Why would you charge $20 and so on and so forth? Another thing that I was really annoyed by was I was seeking support in my peers who were spinning in the same circles. So every single time I asked a question, I got the same answer and we all were stuck. Like, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be something else. So that was the first investment that I made into to be a part of a mastermind that had my potential clients in there. And I was like, you guys, I'm trying to figure this out. What do you see that as a virtual assistant, what is the value that you provide? And the answer one of them gave me changed everything for me. He said, you're not focusing on saving time and money, but what person can do with their time. And you're not positioning yourself as an expense, but as an investment. So I was able to figure it out on my own and eventually work myself out of a VA because I just sucked in taking orders. But I built out my team and I moved into a role of consulting. And then after my second daughter was born, the done-for-you VA online business management, even with the team, no longer was a fit. It's like, well, I have to make a decision here. And I changed my business again to go even deeper in consulting, adding on coaching and learning as I'm in the process right now, also the mindset part, because it's such a big piece of the whole overall picture. So just like so many of us, I'm on the journey as well, so I know how scary it is. I know how frustrating it is, how impossible it seems at times. But there is a way.
I'm going to recap a few things. When you have your clients, we talked about this pre-chat, they, as you say, have learned every marketing and sales tactic out there and they're practicing all of them. It's still not enough. Powerful education from you, because we hear marketing and sales 80% of the time, marketing, sales, marketing, sales, marketing, sales. That's what eventually puts you in that corner. You're too busy doing all of that to pull back, reposition, and reprice. The other thing we talked about was the whole package. You just talked about it. It's that you not only get dollars, you get your life back. Mm-hmm. People are coming to you for not only to grow and to prosper and to stop being nickel and dimed or to go beyond this barrier they built for themselves. They also want to reclaim their life. Yep. And work on that as well, getting the resources and people and income in to free their life and grow their business. Those are the two big components of what you do. Pre-chat, you said another powerful thing. It was this. We're taught to niche is rich, the power's in the niching down, broad is broke, those kinds of thoughts. You say sometimes you have to acknowledge it's not just niching. You have to go broader to reposition yourself. Do I have that right?
What I'm noticing with myself, it's my clients have all the different pieces. They're in that maze going left and right. Where my strength is knowing a lot about a lot of things. And yes, it's not necessarily just being visible. It's not necessarily just launching a podcast. It's not necessarily just this one thing. But where my strength is as a strategist, as a consultant, is being above that maze and being above it all and seeing what pieces they have and what's going to fit together and what's not. It's not the general rule of thumb. It's not what works for anybody. It's what I find it's working for me.
You're so kind. You call it the maze. I call it the swamp. And I always say there's a whole world out there that helps businesses get started. Then they disappear. There's the swamp after you start. On the other side of it are people saying, I'm here to help you scale if you make it through the swamp. You're actually pulling people out of the swamp out of the maze. I give you credit for that. We don't have a lot of people doing that. Nadine does it. We talked about Vanessa. She does it.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing, and there are others that I know that do it as well. That is the trickiest area, the swamp. Anybody can get started. I really believe that. It's getting through that swamp, that just burnout, as you say, of spinning your wheels, and you're doing everything everybody's taught you. You're trying so hard. You're showing up 50 hours a day, and you're saying to yourself, why isn't all this effort translating into a better life and better income? What's your answer
to that? Information overload, comparison game, fear of missing out, as opposed to staying in your lane and just focusing on evolution that you can go through as a business owner. You know, it's so tempting to, and I'm going to actually backtrack a little bit. A woman I respect deeply, her name is Heather Elliott. She's a mindset expert. I was listening to her interview after I worked with her for some time, and she said, it's almost like you're sitting in a lotus position, meditating, and you're getting paintballs thrown at you. You're supposed to ground yourself. You're supposed to focus on your path, but at one point you start chasing people who are throwing those balls at you, and you lose your direction. And I think it's exactly the same thing as entrepreneurs in that swamp. It's like, another free webinar, and I need to have these fully automated funnel, and I need to have high-end sales, and I need to do a webinar, I need to do this, I need to do that, as opposed to just figuring out what are your strengths, what are your core values, what is the lifestyle that you currently have and the one that you want to have, and start pulling the pieces in place that support you in that, and elevate yourself through that, as opposed to just go in a goose chase, what everybody else is doing.
How do you do that?
You work with an expert who can show you the way.
Don't you need someone who has done it, someone with expertise? And we all talk about coaching, hiring consultants and experts. That's a whole nother show about how you find a really good one to work with. You have the experience. You have an MBA. Let's talk about the importance of business fundamentals. When you said hire an expert, I think what you're saying is hire someone who knows business and what business really is and how to make a business really work on your terms. Is that what you're saying?
Those things come through experience. There's always going to be people that you hire, that you invest heavily in, and at the end you turn around and like, well, that was a waste. There's a stepping stone. We have all been there. We are all going to be there.
We've all been there.
Yes. You don't know what you don't know. I think the biggest mistake you can make is like saying, well, I'm an expert. I don't need support. Well, you can be the best neurosurgeon in the world. You cannot operate on your own brain, period. So when you're looking for somebody, yes. Yes, it might be somebody who's going to help you get on the stage. It might be somebody who's going to help you with that fear. It could be just that one piece of the puzzle that you're missing. But you will know when you look across your business, you will know if you're in a position where you actually need somebody to help you put the pieces together. And in that situation, yes, you start looking for those who know the business fundamentals. And I am consistently in conversations, online space. I love it because it allows you to have different opinions. And there's a camp of those who say, education doesn't matter as long as you keep doing things. Like, yeah, I guess, but at a certain level, you're going to hit a wall. On the other hand, you have those who say, well, you have to have education, to some even MBA degree, to have that understanding that you're taught, the fundamentals that you're taught through school. Yes, look, not every single thing that I was taught in my MBA program is applicable today. Just to give you an example, we had a marketing class and professor came in and said, okay, today we are building campaigns. You have a $2 million budget. It's like, yeah, how do we have a $2 million budget? Oh, we have a sales team for that. So there are flaws there. I don't, I'm not going to deny it.
He's definitely not a member, but a president of an optimist club in his neighborhood. He's CEO of some big optimist club.
So I'm not saying that that is the answer, but when you're in a position that you need to be pulled out of a swamp, yes, you seek somebody who has that overview, who has these the skill set, and then you just find the person that you click with. Because like you mentioned, Nadine, Vanessa, and so many others, yes, we do the same things, but we do them differently because we're different people. We have different backgrounds and different approaches. So you just find the one that works for you.
When I interviewed Vanessa, we talked about you said the exact same thing. She helps her clients find their true north again. They're spinning. They've lost direction. Yeah. You point them. We talked about repositioning with the car. You reposition. You help them find their true north again. Role play. I come to you. I am that multiple six-figure entrepreneur. I want to grow. I'm tired of doing all the work myself. I believe I have more value to offer. You don't have to give your whole process, but what is the first step you take me through? The first thing that we do together?
First, we have to figure out where you are currently, which means in-depth assessment of your foundation. It's like building a bridge across the river. You can't just bring the bulldozers and start constructing. You have to know what kind of grounds that you're dealing with. So it's an in-depth process where you take a look into your everything, from your mindset to your personality to your strengths to business aspects of management, marketing, sales, margins, conversions, every single piece of the puzzle. And then we do the same with where you want to be so that we know what the gap is, and then we start constructing with the gap. One of the services that I actually offer is a blueprint called just for that purpose. It's for those of people who just need a blueprint, but they can execute on their own. So they literally get a checklist, element after element after element, priority number 1, priority number 2, priority number 3. You can go through it. You wake up in the morning, okay, what's next that I need to tackle that is going to support me in bridging that gap? Of course, once we start working, somebody might just need a little tweak. Somebody might need a year-long engagement. Somebody might need 2 years to get to where they want to be. Somebody can only work with me. For some, I might need to bring different experts on board. You never know.
Are traditional business plans obsolete, or are they more important than ever, or somewhere in between?
That's a good question. I would say
talks about that. No one. Offline, Chamber of Commerce, everywhere you hear business plan, you come online like poof, no such thing. Poof.
I think it's
what's the story?
I spent a ton of time creating my own, and it did not serve me because I had no idea of what it's going to look like once I actually entered the arena. However, what the exercise allowed me to do is to create my direction. Where do I want to go? Get clear that if I want to go from east to west coast, well, do I want to fly? Do I want to drive? Do I want to take a train? I had a general direction, but once you enter the road, you might get on a highway. You might decide, you know what, I'm going to swing through this park. You never know. Your car might break down. That's a setback. You can't predict those things. But in terms of business plan, I would say don't spend too much time on it, but use it as a guidance to keep referring back to make sure that you're still on the right track. And if at one point you figure out, well, that's not what I want to go with, that's not the direction I want to take, that's not what I want to do, I changed so much, I grew so much, what I set out to do 5 years ago no longer works. Well, it's okay. You can reassess and start again.
Pivoting is everything as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I don't want to leave this point. We talked in the pre-chat, and I mentioned this earlier. You get your clients from networking and referrals. People may be wondering, how did you get such a great business? That's how you did it. It's that people connection. People sometimes rely on Facebook ads, the whole ad place. It's really about connecting with people and asking for the sale or putting yourself out to other people as available for a sale. When you talk about mindset, what have you learned from your clients, and what is it you teach your clients now?
Oh my goodness. First, I do want to go back just a couple of moments when you mentioned Facebook ads and paid advertisement. I'm not against it. I know it works when it's done right. I have former clients who are doing tremendous work because of those ads, but it's a very complex thing, and $20 budget is not going to solve it. Even then, when you have all this influx of clients, you need solid foundation to be able to support them so your business doesn't fall apart. But in terms of the mindset,
may I jump in about the ads before we go there? Because I don't
sure.
What I've learned with Facebook ads, I run them as well. For those listening, we'll have higher level entrepreneurs listening. Facebook ads, you can hire someone to run your Facebook ads for you, pay a fair amount, but you'll get a return. I know people who are spending $13,000, $20,000, $70,000, $100,000, $125,000, even more, $200,000 on Facebook ad campaigns, and they're realizing $500,000, $1 million, those kinds of things. For low budget, that's not going to work as well. Not nearly conversions. You need that mass money, and you can hire an expert. I just want people to understand that Facebook ads depends on where you are financially in your business and what you can commit to a Facebook ad campaign. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Okay. Let's talk about mindset.
So mindset, it's so funny. I just had a conversation with my dad yesterday. I went through a rough day yesterday, and he reminded me, he's like, well, when you were an athlete, did you ever doubt in yourself? And he's like, yeah, never mind. You went through ups and downs like every athlete does. But when you first made the move from our small town of 10,000 to New York City, did you ever doubt that it would work out? You did not. When you were getting married, did you ever doubt in that connection and love that you had with your husband? No. Like when you were giving birth to your kids, did you ever doubt that something would go wrong, that they would not come out? Like, too much information, but no. Like, so why would you submit yourself to doubt if you know that you can reframe your thinking in every single moment, that you make a conscious decision about what you think, how you feel about it, what actions you're taking, what habits you're creating, and what results are you getting out of it? It's like, Dad, who are you? What happened to my dad? It's like, no, I'm just learning from you. And that's exactly what I have been learning for a long time now. It's a process, because when I first started out, I had clients who were in that arena of law of attraction, of mindset speak, and I always thought it was that marketing, fancy marketing words. You have to grow into the person where you start hearing things differently. And through mindset, when you're so preoccupied, when you're in survival mode of going through each and every day, you don't have the capacity to do that. And I'm not an expert in neuroscience. I'm not a psychologist or psychiatrist. So I don't feel comfortable teaching too much about it, because I know it takes a lot more than just a couple of years of experience. But what I'm finding to realize is when you allow yourself to take a step back, and when you allow yourself to tap into who you truly are and address those beliefs that are keeping you stuck, you elevate yourself to a whole new level. You see things from a different perspective. There's still going to be fears, like at $10,000 a month, at $100,000 a month, at $1 million a month. The fears just grow bigger, just like the zeros in your bank account, unless you deal with them. So it's a whole piece that I do work with my clients. I do bring experts on board, just like I do have experts that I work with who help me through all of those things.
This is not a positive mindset statement, but new level, new devil. That's what we hear. Every level brings new challenges, new insight, but it also brings new blessings.
Exactly.
And the blessings are worth all of it.
But
Earlier, and I want to go back to it because it goes to mindset. When you were working your way out of the VA position, you said you were getting the same answers that were in your head from the people around you because they were doing the same kind of work.
Yep.
Everybody had the same view from the swamp. Nobody had the view from the embankment. No one had the view from the tree overlooking the swamp. Everyone was in the swamp looking from the same perspective. Yeah. How did you pull yourself to a new level, a new group? How did you find those people that had the different perspective that pulled you out of the swamp and let you go on a new roadway? How did that happen for you?
Well, first thing is that you need to get over yourself and over your ego. You don't know everything. You're not the best in the world. There's always something that you can learn from somebody else. And I also go back to, as a basketball player, I had a coach. Some of my coaches were never players, but they had a different perspective. They were able to guide us. They were able to see my setbacks. They were able to see my strengths and coach me through those, pull the team together. So I guess by nature, I'm really prone to having that sounding board, having somebody to guide me and being really responsive to the feedback that I'm getting. So I also knew that if I want to serve a particular type of person, I need to understand firsthand what is it they're going through. And I can think from my own perspective, just like going back to sports, when you're sitting on a couch watching the game, everything is so easy. But once you're in the game, it's a little bit different. So that was the first thing. The second thing was overcoming the fact that, hey, if you want the results, you have to invest. And when you invest, you actually invest in yourself. And that's a whole different conversation that you and I could have for another 5 hours. But nothing's free. And it also builds up your confidence, because if I know that I'm investing in myself, XYZ, I easily can turn around and expect it from my clients as well, because I know how it feels. I'm able to walk them through it. I know what my worth is just because of what I have been through. And I know what my worth is knowing the results that they're getting. So it allows for a whole different conversation and brings in a whole different energy. And look, I'm no different than anybody else. I'm going through my own demons. I'm going through my own fears. I'm going through my own struggles. There are weeks when I don't want to get out of bed. And there are weeks when I'm flying high. But my biggest motivation at the time was my kids. You know, I was on a deadline that wasn't mine. I was like, I have to figure this out. There's no playing around. I can spend 5 years trying to figure out on my own, or I can pay somebody who can tell me this in 2 hours.
The takeaway I'm feeling from this is a reminder, once you get to a certain level in business, and it may even serve those just starting business equally as well, look at the holistic nature of the person you are hiring. You don't need to hire an expert who's going to teach you email, or an expert that's just going to focus on Facebook ads. A specialist. You need someone who is an expert generalist at the whole business puzzle. 3 things can happen. I always break things into 3, the magical 3. One, you hire a coach, it works out great. And you invest, you pay a lot of money. Number 2, you pay a lot of money, you hire a coach, and you don't do the work, so you bomb. Scenario number 3, you hire a coach for a lot of money, you do all the work, it's a bomb because they're a bomb. They're not what they appear to be, right? Three very realistic scenarios. How do you, for your coaching, when you hire someone, how do you vet someone? You're obviously someone who's going to show up and do the work. Number 2 is out. Now you're down to, I'm going to invest money. I can tell you're an investor. You're going to invest money to go where you want to go. You can't go to 6 figures, multiple 6-figure businesses hiring someone for $500 or $600 or $1,000. That's not what those people aren't out there for that. And like you said, that's going into a dealership and seeing a Mercedes for $1,000. You're like, what's up here? And you walk out because something's terribly wrong. Even though that may be a true Mercedes, there's something wrong and you're going to walk away from it. How do you vet people when you're going to make the investment, you're going to do the work, so you wind up with the first scenario, it's a great experience and you're getting that value when you put in the work, versus someone who's not living up to the challenge for you? How do you separate that?
Instinct has a lot to do with it. There are people that I've been following for years. Before I got to them, it's like, okay, I'm ready now. There are investments that I made on the spot that just felt something that they had that I wanted to have, felt something that they've experienced that I wanted to experience. But then there are also people who have what I want to have, but I just don't feel that connection with them, and I'm not even got a water, you know, because then it would be unfair of, it would be me wasting their time and my time, even dragging them through conversation to just confirm that we're not the right match. But on the other hand, I never look into just how much money they are making in that particular time, knowing, well, if I want to be able to fix something, have they fixed it for themselves? Because if I'm training for Olympics, I don't need my coach to be an Olympic athlete. I want somebody who has a proven track record of getting athletes to the Olympics. So I think that is another part of it that, again, debate is going on, pro and cons of that approach. But for me personally, it's the instinct that plays the biggest role, and then understanding that if I feel pulled towards something, I'm going to make a jump, I'm going to make a leap. If something's pulling me back and I have to sleep on it and contemplate on it, that's probably not the right thing to do.
Listen to that, folks. Listen to that piece. If you have to really sleep on it and you're still debating, it's probably not. It should feel right.
Yeah. And look, there are logistical parts. There's times when you want to do it, it feels right. You just need time to get finances in order. And in that case, you're going to do whatever the hell it takes to get your finances. And it happened more often than once when I made it energetic commitment, when it's like, this is it, I'm doing it. Give me 5 days to figure it out how. Hey, money showed up. And again, I never would have said that if you and I met like a few years ago. I was like, oh, come on, that doesn't work. But literally, it was down to a cent of what I needed that it showed up.
Last mindset gem. We're going to wrap this one with something really, not the final wrap. It's the penultimate semi-wrap. Ready? What mindset shift did you make to make your first investment in an expert to take you where you wanted to be? That's a huge leap for a lot of people. I understand when finances, you may have a lot of money, but you talked to me about a client who made a lot of money monthly, but once you pay certain things out, that figure drops and they're like, I'm used to a certain level of livelihood. How do you make that commitment? Where does that mindset come from?
Oh my goodness. It saves me energy, it saves me time, and it allows me to stay focused on what I need to be focused as opposed to trying to figure out on my own. It's
commitment too. You're committed
yeah.
to no matter what.
Showing up for myself, knowing I invested so much it hurts, I better make this work. And having to justify it, sometimes I have conversations with my husband. He, it's a great support. I would not be here without him. I do have to give him the credit, but it's not always easy. There are things we don't see eye to eye with. And it's like, well, you're investing X, Y, Z, but we still have to make those commitments. How do you offset? But it's like when you're starting, I'm using my parents as an example. Their business is different. They needed equipment when a piece of equipment costs tens of thousands of euros. You can either invest in the equipment or you invest in knowledge, if that is what you're providing. But the more that you do it, the higher you can go, the further you can go, different things you see, different things you experience, the more complete solution you can be for your clients, the greater impact you can have on them. And it just keeps on going, it keeps on giving. And what I'm also realizing is that every single time I do, I force myself through the next level of fear and resistance and short-sightedness. Did I just make up the word, being short-sighted? You see around yet another corner in the maze that you're going through.
I find businesses that are real businesses, they're established, it's not going to be an issue. You need a new copy machine in the offline world, you buy it. It can cost you thousands of dollars. When people need that consulting help in genuine businesses, they don't hesitate. They go get the help. The whole world is built on a system of us helping each other, whether it's in business, in life, whatever it is. We're built on a help model. Yeah. We can't get through life from the time we're little to the time we're big without help. Get the help. That's what I say. You have been an absolute delight. What would you love to leave with our viewers today for this benefit? What final gems would you like to place in their hearts and in their head?
Wow. I have to go, since I see it right from here on a wall. There's a picture that I purchased, the first purchase that I made in the States. It says, one dream can change your life. And I'm a firm believer in that. Sometimes we're so wrapped up in the how, so wrapped up in the trenches of everything, in all the details of doing everything, that we forget to dream and that we forget to take a step back and refocus. But I truly believe that that can happen. But then also another thing for those of you who have joined us, again, thank you, Caroline. Thank you, Nadine. The gift that I want to give to those who invest, I think Nadine's going to tell more about the whole details, but to continue the conversation of restructuring the prices and the opportunities that you can create for yourselves when you take a look into that. My gift is a quick, like 20-minute course that breaks down 3 particular tactics that my clients have used to add $6,000, $14,000, and $45,000 to their bottom lines. It breaks down the how, the case studies.
How can people find you? And then we're going to loop back to your donation. Thank you very much for the donation. Nadine is the supreme ringmaster of all of this. As I say, I have 3 hours. She's put in probably 100 hours for this. I'm just helping. Where can people find you?
They can find me on saraoblakspeicher.com. I'm pretty sure it's going to be in the notes. But to make it easier, you can also go to shatteringyourlimits.com. It's going to take you right back to the same space. It's the website. And then Facebook, I literally live on Facebook and LinkedIn. And if you're in New York area, let me know. We can meet for coffee.
When I'm in the New York area, I'm meeting for coffee.
Gotcha. Deal. This
package is what you're donating to the benefit, correct?
Correct.
And Nadine will coordinate that. Thank you so much. This has been an absolute pleasure. You're an absolute delight, and you're your own powerhouse sitting over there.
Thank you. It all starts with powerful questions. So,
okay,
it's very exchange of energies.
Tuning in to this benefit. Thank you, Nadine, for coordinating all these pieces, for wonderful guests like this. We'll see you next time. Stay on the line. I want to talk to you after we finish this recording. All right? Thank you.